I don't care who's doing better than me, because I'm doing better than I was last year. It's me against me.
Don't worry about the people that God has removed from your life. He saw things you didn't see. He heard conversations you couldn't hear. And he made moves you wouldn't make.
They pulled her from the water on a Thursday morning, face down, lifeless, floating just off the coast of Redding Beach in Montego Bay, October 21st, 2022. At first, people on the shore thought it was trash, something the tide brought in, but when they got closer they realized it wasn't debris. It was a woman. Her name was Aneka Townsend, aged 35, a mom, social media personality with hundreds of thousands of followers. The kind of person who lit up a room without even trying. Less than a day before, she'd been breathing, laughing, alive. The last time anyone saw her, she was getting into a car with a guy she knew, a guy she'd agreed to meet, a guy who, according to investigators, used a shoelace to choke the life out of her before dumping her body in the ocean. Her birthday was supposed to happen that same day. Instead, beachgoers found her washed up like driftwood. The man accused of killing her? He got out on bail, and before he ever saw the inside of a courtroom, he died in a gunfight with cops. No trial, no verdict, no closure. This is what happened to Aneka Slickianna Townsend. And if you think you know how this story ends, you don't, because sometimes the worst part isn't the crime, it's what happens after. Welcome to Shadow Twist, true crime stories where we uncover the dark mysteries of human nature. Kindly subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell icon.
One thing about me, I'm gonna be good, regardless of what is thrown my way. I'm not worried, I'm not concerned, I'm not nervous, I'm not scared, I'm not none of that.
You might have seen her online without even realizing it. Slickianna, that was her username. Instagram feed full of outfits, celebrations, everyday moments. She had this way of making people feel like they were part of her world. Over 300,000 people followed her. Not because she was perfect, because she was real. She grew up in Waterhouse, a neighborhood in St. Andrew, Jamaica.
She's at the stage where all she wants to do is pray, focus, manifest, and hustle. So she's releasing negative energy and welcoming peace.
Second oldest of 4 siblings. Lost her dad early, so her mom, Joy Smith, became her rock. They were tight, the kind of bond where you call each other just to check in, not because something's wrong. Aneka had a saying she lived by, once my have life and my belly full, my good. Translation, as long as I'm alive and I've got food, I'm blessed.
I'm not looking for the one, later but for now I'm having fun. I'm done cause I always get paid, won't be here for long, baby you can.
She wasn't materialistic, wasn't trying to flex or prove anything. She just wanted to live fully and lift others up while doing it. People who knew her said she was impossible not to love. Her aunt described her as someone who laughed easily, who gave freely, who never judged anyone, even when she probably should have. Friends called her the heartbeat of any gathering, not because she demanded attention, but because her presence made everything better. She remembered your birthday, asked how you were doing and actually meant it, showed up when it mattered. And when it came to her own birthday, she'd spend the whole day making sure everyone else felt special. That's the type of energy she carried. But more than anything, Aneka was a mom. Her son was 12 years old, her entire reason for everything. Friends said that kid was her universe. Every move she made, every hustle, every smile on camera, it was all for him. By late 2022, she'd built a name for herself online. Not celebrity status, but community. People felt like they knew her. Like she was a friend, not just a face on a screen. But visibility comes with a cost. Because when you're out there in the open, you never really know who's paying attention or what they're planning.
Woke up this morning, got up out of my bed, I looked around, this is what I said. Thank you, Lord, for another day. All the blessings that's in my way.
October 18th, 2022. 2 days before Aneka turned 36, she was with her family celebrating her mom's birthday. Good vibes, food, laughter, pictures. The next day, she picked up the phone and called her mom like she always did. They talked about life, nothing urgent. Just mother and daughter staying connected. That phone call was the last time Joy Smith ever heard Aneka's voice. October 20th, 2022. Thursday evening. Aneka caught a bus from Kingston to Montego Bay. Public transportation. Nothing unusual. She arrived around 7:30 p.m., and waiting for her was a guy named Rushawn Patterson. Street name, Chizzy. 33 years old, from Hanover Parish. According to investigators, he and Aneka had been in touch before that night. They'd made plans to link up. Here's what the evidence shows. Patterson picked her up when she got into town. They grabbed food at a spot in Sandy Bay, Hanover. Then later, they checked into a guest house in St. James. At some point that night, things went left. An argument started. Could have been about anything. Money, miscommunication, ego. We don't know the trigger, but we know how it ended. According to police reports, Rushawn Patterson grabbed a shoelace and wrapped it around Aneka's neck, and he squeezed until she stopped moving. When it was over, he carried her body to the water and tossed her in like she was nothing. 35 years of love, ambition, joy, and motherhood gone in a single act of violence. Her birthday was less than 24 hours away. She never got to see it. October 21st, 2022, mid-morning. People walking along Reading Beach in Montego Bay noticed something strange floating near the shore. A body, female, face down in the water, already starting to decompose. They called it in. The Marine police responded and pulled her out around 9:30 a.m. At first, her identity was unknown, but by the following day, October 22nd, authorities contacted her family. Her mother was asked to come in and confirm what everyone feared. It was Aneka. The Jamaica Constabulary Force put out an official statement. The deceased has been identified as 35-year-old Aneka Slickianna, Townsend. Her body showed trauma, visible wounds on her head and neck. Nearby, investigators found a bloody piece of fabric and a wig. 3 weeks later, on November 5th, the autopsy report confirmed what detectives already suspected. Cause of death, strangulation. Time of death, between 11 p.m. on October 20th and 9 a.m. on October 21st. She was killed the night before her birthday, and then left to drift in the sea like her life had no value. But it had value, and people across Jamaica were about to make sure the world knew it. Rushawn Chizzy Patterson wasn't new to trouble. Back in 2013, he'd been charged with murder, never convicted. In 2018, he caught an assault charge. That case was still open when Aneka died. And now, in October 2022, his name was linked to another killing. Within 2 days of Aneka's body being recovered, police made it clear they wanted Patterson. They didn't sugarcoat it. They put his name and face out to the public and told him to turn himself in. He didn't. Instead, he disappeared. Bounced between locations. Stayed low. Avoided detection. But on November 2nd, 2022, his run ended. Officers raided a guest house in Hanover Parish and found Patterson inside. He was arrested on the spot, not just for Aneka's murder, but also for that 2018 assault case that had been hanging over his head. 9 days later, on November 11th, the St. James police officially charged him with Aneka Townsend's murder. But Patterson wasn't the only person charged. There was another man involved. Rohan Early B. Rose, 47 years old, worked as a security guard. Rose was hit with a charge called misprision of a felony. Basically, he knew what Patterson had done and allegedly helped him hide it. According to the investigation, Rose was at the guest house that night, and witnesses saw him leaving the area shortly after Aneka was killed. So now there were 2 men facing charges, but only one was accused of taking her life. And the case against Patterson, it was solid. Cops had his car. They had phone records showing contact between him and Aneka. They had witnesses who saw them together. They had forensic evidence tying him to the crime scene. And according to documents that surfaced later, Patterson allegedly admitted to someone else that he'd killed her. On paper, it looked like a slam dunk. But in Jamaica, the justice system doesn't always deliver. Sometimes it drags, sometimes it stalls, and sometimes it collapses entirely. October 24th, 2022. 4 days after Aneka's body was found, people gathered on Chelsea Avenue in Kingston. A candlelight vigil. Hundreds showed up. Friends, family, strangers who'd only known her through a screen but felt the loss like it was personal. They held candles, They held pictures of Aneka smiling, they sang hymns and shared memories. One friend said, "To know Aneka is to know what it means to really live, to celebrate, to enjoy every moment." Her family called her Dumpling. At the vigil, people brought teddy bears and balloons in her memory. Her 12-year-old son was there too. Think about that for a second. You're 12. Your mom is everything to you, and now she's gone. Not from an accident, not from sickness, because someone chose to take her. Her aunt, Arlene Gregory, spoke at a memorial service soon after. She said, "Nothing will ever erase Aneka from our hearts." But the line that stuck with people the most, someone she trusted, took her away from us. That's the part that breaks you. Because Aneka didn't die at the hands of a stranger. She wasn't attacked by someone random. She was killed by someone she felt safe with, someone she got into a car with willingly, someone she probably joked with earlier that evening. And that reality shook people. How many times do we ignore gut feelings? How many times do we convince ourselves someone is safe because we want to believe the best in them? Aneka's death became more than a tragedy. It became a symbol. The hashtag Justice for Slickianna blew up on social media. Artists like Kiprich dropped tracks calling for an end to violence against women. Urban Islands wrote that a huge part of the population came together to send a clear message: violence against women can never be the answer. But here's the hard truth. Awareness doesn't resurrect the dead. And justice? Sometimes it never shows up at all. After Patterson's arrest in November 2022, the case entered Jamaica's court system. Pre-trial motions, evidence collection, bureaucratic delays, more delays. Then, in July 2024, almost 2 years after Aneka was killed, something unbelievable happened. Rushawn Patterson was granted bail. Yeah, bail. His lawyers argued that he had hemophilia, a condition that affects blood clotting, and needed ongoing medical care that he couldn't get in custody. The judge agreed. Patterson walked out. People were outraged. Aneka's family was crushed. But legally it was allowed. And Patterson? He was free, living his life. While Aneka's son grew up without a mother, the trial kept getting postponed, missing lab results, incomplete forensic reports, chain of custody problems. By early 2025, the next court date was set for October 15, 2025. But that date became meaningless, because on February 25, 2025, everything came to an end. February 25, 2025. Hanover Parish, Jamaica. Police launched a raid. They were looking for Rushawn Patterson. He was still out on bail, still technically awaiting trial. But when officers moved in, the situation turned violent. According to reports, Patterson fired at the police. They fired back. When it was over, Rushawn "Chizzy" Patterson was down, critically injured. He was rushed to a hospital. He died shortly after. Just like that, the man accused of strangling Aneka Townsend and throwing her body into the ocean was gone. No trial, no guilty verdict, no sentence. All charges were dropped. The case was officially closed, and Aneka's family was left holding nothing but grief. Her mother, Joy, said it felt like justice had been stolen from them, and she wasn't wrong. Because even though Patterson was likely guilty, even though the evidence was overwhelming, even though he'd allegedly confessed, he never faced a jury. He never heard the word guilty. He never had to look Aneka's son in the eye and explain why he took his mother away. He just died. And every answer died with him. Today, people still remember Aneka Slickianna Townsend, a woman full of life, a devoted mother, someone who made the people around her feel seen. Every year in October, vigils are held. Social media fills with tributes. People share photos and memories. In Jamaica, her name comes up often in discussions about violence against women, about femicide, about the disturbing reality of women being killed by men they thought they could trust. One journalist wrote, "Influencers like Slickianna have become symbols in the fight against violence. Their stories wake up a nation's conscience." And maybe that's true. But here's what keeps running through my mind. Aneka's friends said she believed in living fully, in enjoying every moment, because tomorrow isn't promised. She did that. She loved hard. She celebrated others. She raised her son with everything she had. She built a community that adored her, and none of it protected her. Because the reality is, no amount of joy, no amount of followers, no amount of love can save you from someone who decides your life doesn't matter. Aneka trusted the wrong person. And it cost her everything. Her son is being raised by family now. They've promised to keep her memory alive, to make sure he knows how deeply his mother loved him. But he'll never hear her laugh again. He'll never get another hug. He'll never bring her to his graduation or introduce her to his own kids one day. All because of one night, one fight, one man who believed he had the right to take a life. And the brutal part, he's far from the only one. Every single year, women everywhere, in Jamaica, in the United States, across the world, are murdered by partners, by exes, by men they thought were safe. And every single year, families are left asking, why? Why her? Why didn't anyone stop it? Why didn't the system do more? And most of the time, there's no real answer. Just pain, just loss, just a mother who's never coming home. To Aneka Townsend's family, and especially to her son, words can't fix this. But her spirit, her love, everything she was, that doesn't fade. It lives on. In you. In everyone who knew her. And to everyone watching right now, I need to ask you something. If this story unsettled you, good. It should. If it made you rethink someone in your life, even better. Because these aren't just stories. They're warnings. They're lessons. They're proof that danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it shows up as someone familiar. Someone you trust. So if you believe stories like Aneka's deserve to be told, then subscribe. Not because I'm asking nicely, but because one day, a case like this might help you recognize a warning sign you would have missed. And that recognition could save a life. Yours. Or someone you care about. And if you're still choosing not to subscribe, I'm genuinely curious. Head to the comments and tell me why. Tell me why you're okay with possibly missing the next story that might matter most. I'll be there. Reading every word. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I'll catch you in the next true crime story.